So today I'm going to try a new method of getting the truth across to both the Gentiles and the Jews. I already know that the Gentiles are not going to listen, are not going to believe, and I know that the Jews will believe when the Gog and Magog war takes place, as written in Ezekiel 39. It is written so, and you can look at it in verses 12 and onwards. But if you read the whole thing, you will clearly see that at that time both the Gentiles and all Israel will know Jehovah at that particular point in time. So I do not expect a lot of people to believe what I'm telling you today, even though I know it's the truth, okay? Well, what I'm telling you today, this is going to be my different tack that I'm going to use. I'm here to announce to you today that the Christians, Jesus Christ, is Israel's anti-Moshiach, and that the Moshiach of Israel is the Christians' Antichrist. No, I know many of you are confused. You're not going to believe. This is not about trying to convince you to believe the truth. The peoples are only going to believe the truth when Jehovah saves all Israel from the Gentiles, and then at that time Israel will believe, and then the Gentiles will believe when Jehovah lays his hand upon the Gentiles and smashes them when they trespass upon his land to try to take control of it one last time. Read it look, it's as plain as day in Ezekiel 39. As plain as day. So, once again, I say Jesus Christ is Israel's anti-Moshiach, and Israel's Moshiach, whose name is Yehoshua, is the Christians' Antichrist. Let's get started. Jesus the Celtic God. Celtic? Who are the Celts? The Celts are also called Gauls. They are of the son of Japheth. His name is Gomer. Gomer will be there in the Gog and Magog war. You don't believe it? Let me show you something. Where's my... There it is. I'm going to make a couple more of these. All right. Gomer, watch this. Ezekiel 39. We'll go 38. And both Gentile and Jew should know Ezekiel 38 and 39. Right. We'll start in verse 3. And thus saith, or this says, Adonai Yehovah. Gog, Rosh, Prince, Captain of Meshech and Tubal. Now Meshech, some say that's Moscow. Whatever. Tubal, we know that's Tbilisi. Georgia. Georgia means Gog. Gog means Georgia. So we're talking about up north of Turkey, but also Turkey, because Turkey would be considered a house of Togarmah today. I will cause you to return and put hooks in your jaws and bring you forth. All your army, your Zeus, once again, whether that is horses or birds, war birds, whatever time frame you're in, it applies. And put hooks in your jaws and bring you forth all your army, birds, and Parash, all of them clothed in all sorts of armor, a great company with bucklers and shields, and all of them handling swords. Iran, Cush, and Libya with them, with shield and helmet. And now we see Gomer. Gomer. Let's look up the children of Gomer. Not that Gomer. There we go. The sons of Gomer are Ashkenaz. That's in reference to much of the Germanic tribes, but not all of them. Rifeth, these are the Gauls and the Celts. And of course the house of Togarmah is still in Turkey today. Gomer. All three of these are going to be represented in the Gog and Magog war. They're going to come down. They're going to try. Why are they going to do this? Is it because the Antichrist has showed up? Is that what it is? Shall come to pass that at the same time things will come into your mind, and you shall think an evil thought, and you will say, I will go to the land of unwalled villages. This is Hamlet. So this appears to, the land of Hamlets is northern Israel. Okay? If you understand the people, the land of Israel right now. And I will go to them that are at rest and dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, having neither bars nor gates, to take a spoil and to take a prey, and to turn the hand upon the desolate places which are now inhabited, and upon the people that have been gathered out of the Gentiles. So this appears to be after all Israel has been gathered. Which have gotten cattle and goods. Now we read that Tarshish of the Atlantic in Isaiah 60 and Isaiah 66 were the first to comply with the order by this Eliah or the two witnesses to bring all Israel back. In Sheba, it says Sheba is going to bring their gold and silver. That would be this Sheba and Dedan. That would be, we would say, Saudi Arabia, or the Arabian Peninsula, probably. And the merchants of Tarshish, and all their young lions. These are the young nations that spread out from Tarshish. That would be the young nations of the Atlantic. Shall say to you, are you going to take a spoil? Are you going to gather your company to take a prey? To carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, and take a great spoil? Son of man, prophesy and say unto Gog, this is what Jehovah Elohim says, or this is what Adonai Yehovah says, in that day when my people of Israel are gathered safely. You'll know it. You're going to know. And you shall come up from your place out of the north extremities. The extremities, the north recesses. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what this means, what locations they are. And many people with you, all of them riding upon Not all of them, but they're riding upon Zeus. Now, we can get in an argument over whether it's horses or whether it's birds. Non-Israel chariot horses of Canaanites. In the days of David, chariot horses of Absalom, especially of Solomon and later. All right. But it also says birds. So let the definition apply where it applies. Fair enough. Thus says Jehovah or Adonai Jehovah. I spoke in the old times by my servants the prophets of Israel, which prophesied in those days that a time, a year, that I would bring you against them. That I would bring you. It shall come to pass at that same time that when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, says Adonai Yehovah, my fury shall come up in my face, for in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there will be a great shaking in the land of Israel, a great earthquake. Yoel 2, the last part. Yoel 3, it's all in there. That's those. What prophet was he talking about? Well, he was talking about Yoel, and he was talking about Isaiah. So that the fishes of the Mediterranean Sea, and the fowls of the sky, and the beasts of the field, and all the creeping things that creep upon the earth, and all the men that are upon the face of the land, will shake at my presence, and mountains shall be thrown down. We see in, I believe it was Zechariah 14, where the mountain is going to split in two, where the Mount of Olives is. And the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. And I will call for a sword against him in the hill country. In the hill country. There's hill country in northern Israel. You can look in Hosea. It talks about the battle of Jezreel. Okay? Says Jehovah, or says Adonai Jehovah, every man's sword shall be against his brother. We look at that in Zechariah 14, and we see that this portends a probable nuclear exchange between the Gentiles. If we read Zechariah 14 carefully, it does appear to show that. And I will judge with pestilence, disease. He's going to hit him hard with a disease and with a plague of blood, and will rain upon him, his armies, and upon all the people who are with him, rain, hailstones, fire, and brimstone. This is how I will magnify myself and sanctify myself and be known in the eyes of many Gentile nations. All right. Gomer is going to be there, which means Ashkenaz, the Germans, Rifeth, the French, parts of Spain, and the British, and the house of Togarmah, Turkey, are all going to be there. And Rifeth's false idol, Jesus, the Celtic idol, is not an Elohim of Israel, does not represent Israel. Jehovah is the Elohim of Israel, and he is the only one, and his name shall be one. Let's look at it. Watch this. His name One. Zechariah 14:9. His name shall be one name. There is no other name. Even the name of Israel's Moshiach has the name Jehovah in it. His name shall be one. Yehoshua means Jehovah's salvation, or Jehovah is salvation. Salvation is in the name of Jehovah. That's where it's at. It's not in any other name. None. There's only one. That's it. Okay? It's not in Jesus. Now, alternative names, Jesus, more tentatively links can be made in ancient Celtic deities and figures in early medieval Irish and Welsh literature. Although these works were produced well after Christianization, Olmsted, Garrett, and the Gods of the Celts and the Indo-Europeans, University of 1994, page 321J. EBK, Home Kingdom Scholarly Saints Pedigrees, Archaeology, King Arthur, Mail, David. On the net you'll find claims that Jesus actually spelled Azus by the scholars with a strong parallel. Well, strong parallel, huh? How about we go to the two goats? Let's see. Wait a minute. Leviticus 16:22. The Jews are very familiar with this, and you'll know exactly what I'm getting at. You go to Strong Concordance. 16:22. You see, on the Day of Atonement, you see there are two goats. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. Verse 7, and he shall take two goats and present them before Jehovah at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the two goats, one lot for Jehovah and the other lot for the removal goat. Which they call Azazel or a scapegoat. One for Jehovah. Wait a minute. Why for him? Why not for the people? You see, there are two goats. They appear to be exactly alike, but they're not. You see, folks, and we'll continue with this. Strong parallel. Well, one is for Jehovah and the other one is not. This one is not. Jesus, Lord or Master, that's another dead giveaway. The word Lord in English language is in reference to Baal, as you'll see in just a minute. Powerful Celtic deity of the three mentioned by the Roman poet Lucan in his 1st century CE, and the other two were Thunderer and God of the People. The proper name Jesus used in the English language originates from the Latin form of the Greek. No, it does not. No, it does not. Jesus, the name Jesus, is a god of the Druids. Now I will need to go back and point out that we even see it in this particular article. They say that all the way back, the name goes all the way back to Iesa Krios. Okay, the crown, the Druid crown was not of thorns but of roses. Now they go and try to make it look like that all of these names are the same name, but they're not. Just like the two goats were not the same. Ireland had its own indigenous solar religion, sun worship, Baal, and church. Theirs was the original solar church and theocracy, probably transported from the pre-Diluvian civilization from where the ancient Irish Gaels, the Gauls, the Celts, have come from. The evidence of this exists, but has been cunningly concealed for centuries by the Roman Vatican officialdom. That Irish Church of the Sun, the original Christianity. That's right, folks. I've tried to tell you, Christians, that Christianity did not come from a Jewish Messiah. Christianity came from the Gentiles. It had its own pontiff entitled Creost or Christos, with its own Druidic custom rites and beliefs. They were such an immense antiquity and knowledge that all the other cultures in the world were in awe of them. Abaris the great Druid traveled eastward to the school of Master Pythagoras, which means the serpent, to bring what later would be referred to as a, in quotations, Kabbalistic instruction to the Hellenes, while other acolytes and priests from Ireland set up sacred colleges of wisdom throughout the world. It is not the same. One is for Jehovah, and the other is for the sun god, the idol, the people of idolatry. So what happens to this on which to be the scapegoat should be presented alive before Jehovah to make an atonement with him and to let him go for an escape into the desert? This is what's going to happen to the lands of the Gentiles. They're going to be turned into deserts. If you would have been watching my videos, you would have known that by now. Now, verse 15, then shall he kill the goat of the sin offering, which is for the people. Well, we just read it was for Jehovah. That's right. And for the people of Israel. To bring his blood within the veil, and to do to the blood as he did with the blood of the bullock, to sprinkle it upon the mercy seat and before the mercy seat, and he shall make an atonement for the holy place, because the uncleanness of the children of Israel, and because of their transgressions and all their sins. And so shall he do for the tabernacle of the congregation that remains among them in the midst of the uncleanness. And there shall be no man in the tabernacle of the congregation when he goes in to make an atonement in the holy place, until he come out and have made an atonement for himself, for his household, and for the whole congregation of Israel. And he shall go out unto the altar which is before Jehovah, and to make an atonement for it, and it shall take the blood of the bullock and for the blood of the goat, and put it on the horns of the altar round about, and he shall sprinkle the blood upon it with his finger 7 times, and cleanse it, and make it holy from the uncleanness of the children of Israel. But what about the scapegoat? And when he shall make an end of reconciling the holy place. Now this, folks, Daniel 9. Is there any among you that can think deep enough to understand Daniel 9. Am I going to quote Daniel 9 in vain? Let's go look at it. Now, the holy place in Leviticus was where Jehovah's tabernacle was, not in the same place that Daniel 9, because Jehovah's tabernacle was the temple. It was located in the temple, Solomon's temple, in Daniel 9. So let's make sure we get context here. Now, right here, I've already gone over the 70 weeks are determined upon your people. Verse 24, and upon the holy city to finish the transgression. Okay? To finish the transgression. What did we just read in Leviticus? And to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity. Let's read this again. I'm getting ahead of myself. And when he shall make an end of reconciling the holy place, okay, reconciliation of the holy place. What was that? Daniel 9. To make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring an everlasting righteousness, and a seal of the vision and the prophecy, and the anoint the Kodesh. Kodesh, that's the holy place. So the Day of Atonement represents this particular time when the 70 weeks are fulfilled. Let's go back to it. Now, once that is done, when he has made an end of reconciling the holy place and the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar, he will now bring the live goat. The live goat, therefore, represents Satan. And Aaron shall lay both of his hands upon the head of the live goat and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel. All the iniquities of the children of Israel are going to be laid upon Satan, the god of the Gentiles. And all their transgressions and all their sins, putting them upon the head of the goat, and shall send them away by the hand of a fit man into the desert. And the goat shall bear upon him all their iniquities into a land not inhabited, and send the goat into a wilderness. All of these lands that persecuted Israel are going to be made wastelands. Rome especially is going to be a desert wasteland in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. All right. It would appear probably that the religion of the Druids passed from Ireland to England and France, which is the Gauls. Metamorphosis of transmigration of souls, reincarnation was one of the articles of their beliefs. long before the time of the serpent. It had probably been drawn from the storehouse of Atlantis, where it passed to the Druids, the Greeks, and the Hindus. Then it goes on and on and on, but I don't want to continue in this. We'll go look at this one. Jesus, the Druid sun savior. Jesus, known as Jesus, is the personal name of the Celtic Druid sun savior, closely associated with Jupiter or Zeus. And the Trinity of Rome is, the head of it is Zeus and Zeus are Satan. The Druids were a priestly tribe of the Celtic Gaul, present-day Germany, England, France, and some parts of Scandinavian countries. Jesus was born on December 25th, 834 BCE, which proves that Jesus Christos is not the Messiah. He is not the Moshiach. He, therefore, is a counterfeit and would be anti-Moshiach. Now, so every time you see these people use the word Christ, they're rejecting Israel's Moshiach for Jesus Krios, or Jesus Christos, the fake, the fraud, the counterfeit, the Azazel. And the word God comes from gut, which is also of Gaulish, or I should say the origins of Gomer. Gomer, a people who are going to come and fight against Jehovah, the Elohim of Israel, in the Gog and Magog war. They claim that, as they say, God was expected to be born a virgin. The devil created prejudice against this. This is what this Cyril, in his 15th catechetical lecture, verse 11, by craftily preparing among idol worshippers fables of false gods, begetting and begotten of women, and this falsehood having come first to truth, as supposed it might be disbelieved, so now, since the true Christos, as they say, is to come a second time, the adversary, taking occasion by the expectation of the simple, and especially of them of the circumcision. Look at what he does. Points the finger at the Jew. Brings in a certain man who is a magician and most expert in sorceries and enchantments of beguiling craftiness, who shall seize for himself the Roman Empire and shall falsely style himself as Christ, by this name of Christ deceiving the Jews, who are looking for the anointed and seducing those Gentiles by his magical illusion. Now, what you see here, folks, there is a variance between the Jews and the Christians. Jews, rightly so, say Moshiach, and the Christians incorrectly use the term Christos. Moshiach is correct. Christos is the counterfeit. Now, in verse 12, he says, the aforesaid Antichrist. So I'm telling you right now, the Hebrew, the Jewish Moshiach is the Christian's Antichrist, and I'll prove it right here and now. He says, but this aforesaid Antichrist is to come when the time of the Roman Empire shall have been fulfilled, and the end of the world is drawing near. All right, this is what all Christians believe. Now I'm going to do something that's going to shock some Jews. Jews, when you listen to this, keep an open mind, and I think you might be shocked by this because the Christians' own scriptures are calling the Christians a liar. I said it. And the ones that the Jews had most problem with, Paul said it loud and clear. Let's go there, shall we? Let's dare. Let's make a dare. Let's find out what Paul said that directly counters Cyril of Jerusalem and all the followers of Christianity. Romans 11. So, I'm going to stop right here. We're going to look at verse 25 in just a second. We're going to go over this again. This aforesaid Antichrist is to come when the time of the Romans' empire shall have been fulfilled, and when the end of the world is now drawing near. All right, so he says it's going to happen when the time of the Gentiles comes to an end. Right? The time of the Romans, whatever, time of the Gentiles comes to an end. And they say he's going to deceive the Jews who are looking for the Moshiach. That's what he says. Well, what does Paul say? Paul says exactly the opposite. He tells the Romans, who are not Christians, but followers of Yehoshua, I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that partial blindness has happened to Israel until the times of the Gentiles comes to the fullness, filling up, fulfilled. That's the end. The time of the Gentiles comes to an end. So if partial blindness has happened to Israel until the time of the Gentiles comes to an end, that means when the time of the Gentiles comes to an end, Israel will completely see. How are Israel's eyes going to be opened? By the Gog Magog war. We just read in Ezekiel 39. Let's go back to Ezekiel 39 again. I think I was in Ezekiel 38. So we'll go to Ezekiel 39, and we're going to see when the time of the Gentiles comes to an end and when all Israel shall believe. Right? Verse 7. This is after all this takes place, and they're going to fall upon the mountains of Israel, and all the ravenous birds of every sort is going to be eating. And then a fire is going to be sent upon Magog, and those who dwell carelessly in the coastlands of the Mediterranean Sea, and they shall know Jehovah. That's an absolute annihilation. This is how my holy name is going to be made known in the midst of my people Israel. So Israel will no longer be blinded when the time of the Gentiles comes to an end. When does the time of the Gentiles come to an end? When they go into the land of Israel, they are defeated, and a great fire erupts on Magog and all the lands that came to invade Israel. A great fire on Magog and those that dwell carelessly in the coastlands. That would be in the coastlands of the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, so we see that that's what Paul is talking about right here. He said when the time of the Gentiles comes to an end, Israel will see completely So therefore, the time of the Gentiles coming to an end is the Gog-Magog war. Now, this is directly opposite of what this man says. He says, this aforesaid Antichrist is to come when the Roman Empire shall have been fulfilled. So what Cyril is saying, that Israel's Messiah is the Christian's Antichrist. You see. Then he goes to try to muddy up the waters in the book of Revelation here. But all you need to see is this right here. You see that this is the great lie that Cyril used to deceive all Christianity, and they all believe this. We just read. Oh, wait a minute. Hold it. I almost left out the best part. Until the time of the Gentiles is ended, or comes to the end, and so all Israel shall be saved. Well, according to this man, he thinks that this, as he says, Antichrist is going to deceive the Jews who are looking for the Moshiach, and even deceiving some of those Gentiles. But Paul says, oh, hold on. Paul says, and so all Israel shall be saved, because there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, the Moshiach. You Christians, you don't follow the words of Paul. You don't listen to this. Paul agrees with the prophets, but you Christians, you follow Cyril, who teaches you to follow Satan. There shall come out of Zion the deliverer, who will turn unholiness from Jacob. Why? Because this is Jehovah's new covenant with them when I shall take away their sins. We just read about that in Jeremiah 31, verses 31 through 34. Yesterday or day before yesterday. But this is all you need to know right here. This is the greatest lie ever told, and it has deceived all the Gentiles. It is directly contrary to the words of Paul. And so when you read Matthew 24, actually, I think I'll go to Luke 21. So Luke 21, this section right here, was the destruction of Jerusalem by Titus, Vespasian, etc., and the carrying away of all the Jews of Jerusalem among the Gentiles. And then it says, until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. Listen carefully. This is the tribulation upon Israel. This is the time of Jacob's trouble. This is the tribulation upon the Gentiles, because it says distress of the Gentiles right here. So after the distress upon Israel will be the distress upon the Gentiles. This is when the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. So Cyril, he claims that this Antichrist is to come when the Roman Empire shall have been fulfilled. Okay, so let's see Luke. Who comes next? After the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. There shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars and upon the earth. Tribulation upon the Gentiles, with perplexity and the waves and the seas roaring, men's hearts failing for fear, for looking after those things which are coming upon the earth, For the powers of heaven shall be shaken, and then they shall see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with great power and great glory. And that is proof. Hold on, I'm not done yet. And when these things shall come to pass, then lift up your heads, look up, lift up your heads, for your redemption draws nigh. So now, what we see here is, we'll go and look at Matthew 24, and it says, after Israel's tribulation, this is the next tribulation. The sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in the sky, and then shall all the tribes of the earth be cut off. This is, by extension, the Gentiles. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the cloud of the sky with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the sky to the other. Who are the elect? Since the Christians refuse to read Romans 11, I want all you Jews to read Romans 11 with me, and let's find out the answer to who the elect is. Does Paul agree with Isaiah 45 and verse 4 or not? Actually, let's do this. Let's go then to Israel, mine elect. Yeah, it's Isaiah 45 and verse 4. Here's what it says. For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel my elect. All right? Let's see if Paul agrees. Concerning the gospel, they, the Jews, might be enemies for your sakes, but concerning the election, they are the beloved for the patriarchs' sakes. So the elect is Israel for the patriarchs' sakes. See, all Israel shall be saved because they are the elect for the patriarchs' sakes. The gifts and calling of Jehovah cannot be changed, after all. So the elect that are going to be gathered from the four winds, from one end of the sky to the other, that is Israel. This great sound of a trumpet is spoken of in Zechariah 9. We see Zion's coming king. We see the prophecies against Israel's enemies in the land of Hadrach, which is in the Idlib province today. What's happening in the Idlib province? A lot of war is taking place there. And Damascus. Israel has been hitting Damascus a lot lately. I have a feeling that things are going to get worse for Damascus. And Hama, Tyre and Zidon. Yol 3, read about what happens to Tyre and Zidon. Tyre built herself a strong wall, a stronghold, and heaped herself as of silver as dust and fine gold as the mire in the streets. But Jehovah, or I should say Adonai, will dispossess her. Throw him out. Because that land belongs to Israel now. And he will smite her power in the sea, and will be devoured by fire. Okay? Ashkelon shall fear it, and Gaza will see it, and they will be very sorry. He's going to take the blood out of the mouth of those Philistines, and the abominations from between his teeth when they yell death to Israel all the time. He says at that time he's going to encamp about his house. That would be the holy place. That's when the holy place is going to be reconciled. Because of this great army, and because of him that passes by, and because of him that returns, and no oppressor will pass through them any more, because I see now with my own eye. So the time of rejoicing, O daughter of Zion, shout, O daughter of Jerusalem, because your Melech comes to you. He is just, having salvation, lowly riding upon a donkey, upon the foal of a donkey. All right, we'll go down here where I was looking for, so I don't miss it here. This is going to be there a great war between Israel and the sons of Greece, the sons of the Hellenes, Western civilization. Jehovah will be seen, and his arrow shall go forth as lightning. Adonai Yehovah will blow the trumpet. There we go with the trumpet. When is this going to happen? He will come during the storm of Yemen. The war of Yemen has been going on for 6 years now. And now we see what is brewing in Western civilization is about to destroy itself with this Ukrainian crisis going from one end of the earth into the other. China is looking around and saying, well, we'll wait for the right time. When Russia does it, maybe we can go take Taiwan. What do you think? What do you think would start happening? Would there be firing nuclear weapons already? I don't know. But it says that he's going to come during the storms of Yemen. That's when he's going to blow that trumpet. And at the blowing of the trumpet, all the elect will be gathered. Who are the elect? Well, Isaiah 45 and verse 4 says, all Israel, for your sake, my servant Jacob, and for Israel, my elect. Paul agrees that the Christians have followed this man, this counterfeit. Now you know. Now you know that Israel's Moshiach, Yehoshua, is the Christian's Antichrist. Now you know the truth between the counterfeit and the real Moshiach.